we accidentally stumbled upon labels. That was 2003. I don't think any of us realized what a booming space we'd gotten into in the digital label world, but we did that for 10 years. We served trade only, so we didn't sell to end customers. We only served larger label printing companies. And we started to build a little bit of expertise and a little bit of a reputation for ourselves. Every brand wants packaging that's bespoke to its exact needs.
Yep.
And so if I had to say one big trend that's changing, it's people have an expectation that they should be able to package their brand exactly to the demands of their company. You know, overall, I think that's really been as more probably millennials are running businesses and have grown up in the e-commerce era, have grown up with the customizable everything. To be fair, digital is probably the technology that's best set to serve that. That's why, you know, I think it's often confused that digital is what's driving the change. Not really, it's probably just that it can help accommodate that.
Hello, I'm Alex Bowell and welcome to the PrintPod. Today we're joined by a very special guest, all the way from a very, very rainy Columbus, Ohio, and an Infigo customer, Blue Label Packaging. Andrew Boyd, President of Blue Label Packaging, thank you very much for joining us today. You're here to talk about your journey in the labels industry and how you guys have adapted to the ever-evolving market and how you're working to revolutionize the space. And obviously as an Infigo customer, how we've helped with that process. So thank you very much for joining and welcome.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you very much for coming all the way out here. Quite a journey, shows a lot of dedication to the partnership. So looking forward to the conversation, looking forward to what we get into. So
let's kick things off. Give our listeners a little background into telling us a bit about your journey with Blue Labels, how long you've been here, some of the highlights of the changes that you've made in the evolution of the business.
Absolutely. So I think our story is, I wouldn't say typical, but a story that is pretty common in the label and packaging space, which is we started out as offset printers in the traditional world of printing, doing lithography. We produced envelopes for a number of different industries. So the original company was founded in the 1950s. We did envelopes for giving systems, so predating spreadsheets, you know, you'd have carbon copy forms. So we're kind of in the payment systems business. We got into church offering envelopes, very good business to be in for a long time, right up until around 2000. And then, like many printers, we got to a point where we realized that transactional printing products were not going to have a future. So we had to figure out what our path forward was going to be. We accidentally stumbled upon labels, thinking of it as an add-on item to the church services industry. Right. We would be able to provide them with custom water bottles. I don't think we were really thinking anything larger than that at that time. But we got some equipment, so we ended up with an Infigo 4000, a single 𝐁𝐸𝐴, and we started printing labels. That was 2003. I don't think any of us realized what a booming space we'd gotten into in the digital label world, but we did that for 10 years. We served trade only, so we didn't sell to end customers. We only served larger label printing companies. And we started to build a little bit of expertise and a little bit of a reputation for ourselves. So then 2012 rolled around. I was at the company full time, and we realized that we kind of had to sink or swim in the label space. We couldn't continue to rely on other people to bring us all the work. We had to decide if we were going to go out and try to get our own customers. So that's really when Blue Label was born. Right. And then Blue Label in 2012 launched as a standalone brand. We decided to pursue craft beer, wine, spirits, kind of the premium beverage space.
It's a good place to be as well around here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it really timed up well with a lot of the U.S. markets pivot into those areas from the big legacy brands that we kind of grew up with. Yeah. That being said, you know, you don't know what you don't know, and there's a lot to learn with beverage. So, you know, 5 years later, when you look back, it's like that was a pretty audacious goal to try to get into craft beverage with no real experience. Over the course of the now 12 years since we launched Blue Label, we've grown from 6 employees to around 150. You know, all digital facility, but we produce pressure-sensitive labels, shrink sleeves, tags, and basically run around the clock. So we've come a long way. We still have a long way to go, certainly, but it's been an exciting ride.
Yeah, what a journey so far.
Yeah, so far. So that's like that's the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah, that's good. So obviously, as you touched on a little bit, you know, there's been a lot of change in the label industry, especially in recent years. From your vantage point and your position in the market and in the business, what are some of the key trends that you're seeing today and in the last few years?
Sure. I think, a lot of times the trend in printing is, I think, misconstrued as a trend from conventional to digital.
Yeah.
But that's really only telling half the story, because digital is better able to serve the changing needs. But I think you have to take it a step further of what's changing with customer behavior, or what's changing with brands. So much of the packaging infrastructure was built around efficiency, driving low cost, distribution for large products, and basically national brands. As technology's improved, as customer tastes have evolved, I think every brand wants packaging that's bespoke to its exact needs.
Yeah.
And so if I had to say one big trend that's changing, it's people have an expectation that they should be able to package their brand exactly to the demands of their company. And so, overall, I think that's really been as more probably millennials are running businesses and have grown up in the e-commerce era, have grown up with the customizable everything, expectation.
Used to that, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I think, to be fair, digital is probably the technology that's best set to serve that. That's why, I think it's often confused that digital is what's driving the change. Not really. It's probably just that it can help accommodate that.
Yeah.
Now, we've seen a lot of customization in terms of graphics. I think the next phase will be in the forms themselves. So flexible packaging is already leading the way. Light folding carton. I think we'll continue to see more innovations in materials and forms of packaging themselves. And then, who knows what the grocery store will look like in 10, 20 years, but it's already getting to be such a diverse place with all sorts of packaging, all sorts of products.
So it's clear you guys are ahead of the trends and ahead of the industry shifts. Particularly, we've had you give us a tour of your incredible facilities, and the setup you've got here is amazing. And you've built a reputation, very much kind of yourself driving that, of being innovators in this space. Can you talk a little bit about how you're working to revolutionise the industry and what steps you're taking to kind of lead that cutting edge?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the great advantages of really probably working in any manufacturing industry at this time is there's probably more great technology and software and solutions out there than you know what to do with. And so in terms of actual innovation in the old sense, like having to have R&D engineers or having to develop things ourselves, we don't really have to do that.
Yeah.
And I think what we try to do here is take the best of existing technology and implement it and integrate it into our system. And so, in what the way I position it internally is, we try to be at the productivity frontier. We try to be at the cutting edge of what has been tried and true to work, and then combining those technologies in novel ways that produce a better customer experience, basically. So, maybe there's some innovation in that, but a lot of times it's taking well-developed ideas by other people and just figuring out a space for them inside of our workflows.
Yeah.
And I think really, our partnership between Blue Label and Infigo was no different, of looking at a great customer experience that had really been well developed, across the printing industry as a whole and packaging specifically, but taking that a step further with how can this really work with a customer experience that is already pretty well developed, but has a lot of analog steps, that doesn't really have a lot of self-service yet, that also requires a lot of manual intervention if people want to manage their own products and do their own estimates. So I think this is kind of a great case study for how do you take a lot of really good ideas that are already existing and then just implement them in the most strategic way in your own business. And I mean, I think we'll probably get a little bit more into it because it's a lot of things working in concert, but definitely this is probably a case study with what we do with all sorts of technology.
You talk about technology helping you, develop the product, the company, and being innovative. Other than ourselves, what other tech partners are you working with to help you achieve that automation and innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. So along with Infigo, CERM is absolutely the backbone of our entire business. So we've been with CERM for over a decade, and I think to say that it's really the backbone of what we do would be an accurate statement. I think they started with us when, as mentioned earlier, we had 6 employees, and they've grown us to 150. And that speaks to the scale they can handle, but also within that means from a few thousand products a year to tens of thousands of different SKUs being produced a year. So the beauty is very scalable piece of software, very open to listening to our ideas and our challenges and helping us through them. But additionally, they are big proponents of integrations with other softwares.
Yeah.
Just as important as 𝐼𝐸, is hybrid software, which is our artwork automation.
Another one of our partners.
Artwork, yeah, exactly. Artwork automation, artwork production software. So to handle all these SKUs that come through, you can't be, manually adding bleeds. You can't be doing impositions.
Yeah.
And even, to the nature of what you're getting from customers, you have to be able to pre-flight them and make some adjustments on the fly.
Yeah.
Especially if you want to move to e-commerce, as you guys know, like every file you're going to get from customers, if you have to touch every single thing,
it's going to be different. Yeah.
That's a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
So Sermon and Infigo, I think, are the backbone to really all of our automation efforts. And then that goes all the way out to the shop floor of connecting with our, HP and Indigo print engines, with our 𝐴𝐵𝐺 finishing lines, and across the board being able to send settings out, being able to receive tracking information back. I don't know what point of industry we're on, industry 4.0 perhaps. But I think if you're going to take advantage of all the existing functionality, you have to be focused on the integrations themselves and make sure those are working for you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a key part of obviously our business as well. We focus on the web to print, but we partner with the likes of CERM and Hybrid, so that we can provide customers with our partners those kind of end-to-end solutions, and that's exactly what you guys are utilizing here. So you mentioned web to print, you mentioned Infigo in that. Let's dive into that a little bit more. How do you think partnering with us and the web to print software is going to help you in the business drive forwards?
Yeah, I think what we look for in a partner, first and foremost, is can this bring more value to our customers? And from our initial demos on Infigo, from our seeing the product out in the wild, it's pretty clear this is a very smooth customer experience that really lets people understand a complex array of products in a pretty intuitive way. And I think that's been a hang up with custom printing for a long time, is there's just so much possible. It can really be overwhelming as an end customer.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to present that in a way that steers them and makes them feel confident in the choices that they're making, but also doesn't limit them. So if they do want to take advantage of what's possible, it's still there. It's just not going to be hitting them all in the face at once of, here's 37 different options for the material you want to print on. Here's all these different options for color strategies. Ultimately, what are you trying to achieve? We'll show you how to get there.
Yeah.
I think there's nobody that is doing it as well as Infigo that can organize that in a way that's customer friendly without kind of curtailing their ability to take advantage of it. So, I think the next part of a partner that we kind of look for and that we found with Infigo is somebody that's interested in doing more and figuring out what could be possible. I think when you look at not just the software industry, but the printing industry in general, or there's a lot of people out there that have a good product. They're content to profit off that and, essentially address the present market with something that's working. But when you find another partner that's interested in what else could be possible, or how can we push the envelope, looking at what are people going to be wondering about in the next 5 years? How can we incorporate AI in our offerings? How can we give people more control of variable data? How can people visualize what they're ordering in advance? I think when you can sit and talk to the management team of a partner and they're as interested as you are in solving those problems and really brainstorming, that speaks to the long-term partnership, and also, that you've picked someone who sees it the same way that Blue Label sees it.
Yeah.
The final thing is, a lot of people have stepped into e-commerce as it's a supplemental income, method, or maybe it's going to be a web store. For us, we see it as a really important supplement to great, human-driven customer service. For checking up your order status on the weekend, trying to get something in potentially at the end of the month and realizing that business hours are over. But essentially, or just you're putting in a repeat order and you don't really have the time to get on the phone and go through the whole process. So we see it working in concert. And I think the link that we've built with CERM lets people handle their existing account, all the functionality and customization that they're used to, but also streamlines a way that they can kind of take control of their own property, I guess.
And one of the things that we've when we talk to other customers using the same kind of CERM integration and bits like that, it's about giving that control to the end user. So You know, when you don't have that system in place and you've got your sales account managers, your sales team in there, and they're taking orders in, if they make an error and they input something incorrectly, that's on you.
Yeah.
You know, if you're then giving the customer the control and they specify their jobs, they put their quantities in, they're in full control of that, and they can, you know, like.
I will say one thing about that though, which is my father's a printer, my grandfather's a printer, and what they said is, you can count on one hand the amount of times in your career that you've gotten a customer to admit a mistake.
Yeah, that's
their
true.
fault. And then he said, actually, I can count on no hands because it's never happened.
Allow us to interrupt this broadcast with a short ad break. Artificial intelligence in print. A brave new world, or AI Armageddon. AI systems can analyse print jobs and suggest cost-effective printing options, such as choosing the right paper, ink, and printing method to minimise costs while still maintaining quality. In this white paper, we explore the potential risks and benefits of AI within the print industry. Access our white paper now and find out. What exactly do we mean by AI? What we perceive to be the positives and negatives of AI in print? The AI systems and tools that are already being implemented in print. What is the right balance in between? Download it now for free at infigo.net/white papers.
So it's really exciting to hear, you know, how technology is driving things forward and the successes you're having through that. But obviously, you know, like the world isn't really like that, and there are challenges. So what challenges have you had to overcome and you face that you can share?
Yeah, I think we've always been, you know, we were 6 people, so there's always been a little bit of an underdog mentality for us, but we've always been smaller than probably a lot of people that we've been, you know, up against to win projects or to gain customers. As we've grown, it's offered us more, you know, opportunities, and also we can back up. Things aren't put together with duct tape and, you know, like chewing gum like they were at one point. So that's been really nice to grow into that. But that being said, as we've grown, the industry has done a lot of consolidating, which has created a lot of challenge, I think, for mid to small size players like ourselves. So, you know, you basically have a situation where a lot of these, you know, recently created large companies are very price competitive. I mean, it's lots of capacity that has to be filled. Mm-hmm. And so to go out there, you really have to be putting your best foot forward, not just in terms of service and quality, but you have to be at a price, you have to understand your costs, you have to be able to price things efficiently, and you have to really be running your equipment at a high level. So I think you know, if you're on a treadmill, the treadmill got turned up in speed considerably over the past few years, and it's made things very difficult. You know, that being said, there are resources out there. Like, we're members of 𝐁𝐨𝐿,
mm-hmm.
which we love. So there's a community of people in our industry that share best practices and talk through their troubles, and, you know, I mean, that sort of thing. Very good to be in. And also relying on your vendors. Many of them have seen the issues you're facing with their other customers. They can help you work through problems you're dealing with, you know, that sort of thing. But I think the continued consolidation is probably going to be a big challenge for our industry. The other, you know, always developing factor is when you start looking at regulations coming down the pipeline. You know, the U.S. is probably catching up to Europe mm-hmm. in terms of a lot of environmental regulation that has huge implications for
waste.
For the packaging space. What's recyclable?
Yeah.
Are things compostable? What will be considered compostable? And a lot of things are done state by state. You know, we sell into Canada a lot. Canada has different sets of regulations than we do. So I think getting ahead of environmental regulations, mm-hmm. probably starting to think bigger than just the traditional materials and substrates that, or, you know, constructions that you're used to, because things will be changing over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Who knows when, but you're not going to be able to landfill nearly the amount of things that you do now. And so educating, you know, in our industry, educating yourself and staying ahead of these regulatory trends is only going to get harder.
Despite all the plastic knives and forks that we get at breakfast in our hotels that we stay in America. I'd love to learn a little bit about you, Andrew. What makes you tick? About you personally. What drives you as a leader? And what gets you out of bed? And why do you do it?
Yeah, what an existential question. You know, I think a general sense of impending doom seems to drive most of what I do. Realistically, you know, what happened here at this company was I stepped into my role when the company was in pretty dire financial straits. And it's a family business that had been around since like the 1950s. And we were at a pivotal moment from moving from offering envelopes and figuring out really what was next. And so when I started working here, I got put in charge of a project which was trying to get our label division off the ground with the very capable help of those original 5 employees, which are who are for the most part all still here. So I think I got to be an instrumental part of a big change, and then help be a part of something that was growing and went from really on the verge of collapse to becoming a growing force in our community, being able to employ more people, watching people send their kids to school. People building careers around it, moving to the town we're based in. So, if something I guess I think about a lot is probably like why I love this so much is that, you feel like you're needed and you feel like you're making a difference.
Big difference, yeah.
And watching a new generation of leaders come up in the company, getting to help people develop their careers, whether, they stick around with us or not, but seeing from when they started with us, when they left, all the new skills they learned and how much more confident they felt.
Through.
It's awesome. I think helping develop people, getting to meet new people. And then there's also this other aspect of, being able to travel in our industry because it's such a global industry. You've traveled all the way here to Columbus, Ohio to talk about labels, but this isn't even the first time this has happened. In the last month, we've had people from Belgium in this conference room. We've had people from Germany in this conference room. And vice versa, we get to go out and see our partners elsewhere. So to be connected to kind of a global community of people that are interested in printing and packaging, it's really like, it's probably not like aerospace engineering or like whatever, but I think it's pretty important, and you get to meet a lot of interesting, fun people. So and I guess to end on a note is this company's been around 67 years now. And I'm kind of serving my term, I guess, as president or whatever. But it's kind of cool because, there's a thought of I did my part, and it'll
your legacy.
Ideally be standing, and somebody else will get to take it to the next level, whatever that might be. So maybe it will be aerospace. Who knows? So,
and what about you? How do you unwind? So obviously, we've spoken in the past about you going back to England. And watching your beloved Luton Town play.
Yeah, of course. So good.
And obviously, the golf that you and your brother like to play. I think it's a Thursday night with the
Absolutely.
boys. What do you do? What does Andrew do outside of work when he's not revolutionising the labels industry? And
and to the degree I'm revolutionizing the label industry, I'm probably hearing other people's revolutionary ideas and just pretending that I thought of it.
Taking them on,
of course. I think one of the great things about our industry, and probably, I've speculated on this before with other printers, is printing has probably existed as such a great space to be in because it affords such a great work-life balance, and it's such a hidden gem of an industry. Because when you're sitting around a table with people that work in our industry, almost nobody got into it on purpose. It's they took a job from a classified editor. They had a friend who worked there, and and then they ended up spending 40 or 50 years in it because it lets them, support their family, do meaningful work, be challenged, but usually also be able to be present, be there for all the big moments, and also pursue their hobbies outside of work and that sort of thing. And I'm really no different. I love a good work-life balance. I take my social calendar very seriously, but and as you mentioned, absolutely love a round of golf. Supporting our customers by drinking a pint of their beer, passionate about it. And I think most importantly, I'm from a pretty big family, I guess I would say, in a close-knit family. So spending time with my wife, my son, and then my brothers and their families and cousins and so on. But we spend a lot of time together. I wouldn't trade it for anything. And really getting to work here in the midst of family business for a long time kind of puts me at centerpiece where I get to see them all the time.
Yeah,
so
that's lovely. So looking ahead, but without giving too much away, what's next for Blue Labels?
Well, there's lots of small projects ongoing always, which are user experience and automation projects to just generally improve the services we're offering, improve the quality of the products we're putting out. That's day in, day out. Some are large, ambitious projects. Others are like, we're changing how we scan shipping documents to make sure there aren't errors of parcels going to the wrong place. That being said, there's also a big 30-ton elephant in the room, which is we're moving.
Douglas.
Which is we're moving into direct-to-can printing. So printing, graphics directly onto aluminum, and we've kind of partnered with 𝐁𝐨𝐵𝐞𝐞, which is producing industrial, speed, hundreds of cans a minute printer to be able to provide the same quality service that people expect from us in labels and shrink sleeves, but now on printed cans.
Wow.
When I talked about regulatory changes, it's really economically and and when it comes to environmental, impact, it's the clear choice over the next 10 years. Yeah. And so we wanted to make sure we can still be a part of that conversation. It's a big learning experience for us as well, but we're excited about the challenge, and it's definitely the thing that we're spending most of our time on. Coming to you January 2025 or whenever this might air.
Space. No, that's fantastic, and it's really inspiring because we share Infigo similar traits in the work-life balance, which you mentioned about the family, but also being innovative and looking at what is next and trying to be ahead of the curve. So it's brilliant. That's been fantastic to have you on the PrintPod today, Andrew. Thank you for spending time out of your busy schedule to join us. We're proud to be a vendor for you and partnering with you and helping you shape the future of Blue Labels, and long may that continue. So thank you very much.
Well, Alex, I appreciate it. You've actually come out here into the middle of a soybean field, I've been informed. Yeah. It's not corn this year. But I think the long journey to come out here and have this conversation is yet another testament to the partnership. But it's a nice thing when not only do you get to work with people, but you get to be friends with them as well. So couldn't be happier, and anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on the PrintPod. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and consider subscribing to make sure you get all the latest from the world of print and marketing. Feel free to share what you would like to see in the next episode of the PrintPod in the comments below. For more behind the scenes content, don't forget to follow us on our social media channels in the links in the bio below.